Three, two, and one. Look, I know it's bad optics wise that in a debate tournament we have the task of defending a privileged institution who, let's admit, have the most first world problems, of which the government bench has a lot of ammo that they pointed out to us in the round as being very elitist, right? But as this is an actor's motion, I think the burden of both sides in this debate is to cater to that elitism as much as possible. Because let's really think about it. These prestigious private universities are prestigious and private for a reason. They are both of these things because that is how they are able to survive the exorbitant and outrageous operational costs that exist within every year they stay up as a uni. The main burden of both government and opposition bench is to prove whether or not the action of eliminating legacy admissions is within the incentive and capacity of the actor. What we say on op, which I don't think has really been dealt with even in PM and DPM, is that once you eliminate your main source of funding, that direct opportunity cost results in you losing your prestige. That is the main extension idea. It will kill a lot of the things that Gov has already said. Before that extension, though, a few responses to the entirety of government bench. One, PM has a lot, as a shotgun list of massive impacts that don't really stand up to scrutiny. I have three examples. She says that students will feel bad because not everything is meritocratic based. She says that schools will lose control of their own perception and image. She says that students will feel very discouraged about studying in these universities. DPM broadly focuses on the last point. What's the response to this? Two things. One, Joseph actually talks about this in his speech. It's quite unfortunate that DPM decides to not engage with it. The simple nuance to legacy admissions is that it doesn't guarantee you a spot to graduate. It just makes that slot a lot more likely to go to you. This is the reason why Harvard is not completely filled with nepo babies to the extent that Gov Bench says it is. Like they still have to pass the exams. They still have to subscribe to the standard that Harvard says for itself. The second thing is just on how, as a consequence of their prestigiousness, the end goal for these people just being in Harvard is still likely to be okay even if you feel bad about it. Like, yeah, the impact they say is minimized because let's be honest, any graduate of an Ivy League school is in the top percentile of being successful in life. Like, the impact that they point out on their very own case is not that big. Two, DPM says that this really uncharitable thing about us not making why it's likely that these colleges are going to get a majority of funding from these rich people, right? Look, I mean, you listen to my partner's speech, you probably know that's a literal straw man. But hey, I'll give you extra material, right? DPM's main extension is on the capacity for universities to gain more funding through alternative means. What's the problem with that? Two things. One, it is a literal principled concession that you as the university are going to eliminate legacy admissions because now you have to admit fault that you did something wrong in the past. This is comparatively bad because this leads to even more backlash going their way because now they are seen as a cheat in government's world where they do admit to their fault. Why would I even go to this college that has been so incredibly elitist in the past? Two, the perception of the diversity and affirmative action policies that DPM talks about literally falls to the same contradiction that was set up by their prime minister. If it really is about meritocracy praised, then we really shouldn't have this discussion that DPM decided to bring up to the table. Third, this is an actor motion and we need to understand what the metric the actor or the school itself would use. It's very simple. It's because of the economic, financial, and political backlash they would get from alumni, from politicians, from the literal donor base. Yes, there is backlash from the woke public left, but their proximate interest is to appease their current direct shareholders. Again, what Joseph characterized constitutes a majority of the people where they actually get their funds. Just lastly, if you really map it out, the impact of their harm is non-existent. Millions of dollars come in, a few dozen people get preferential treatment, but we have the capacity to open up grants and a lot of scholarships. What's the extension? Removing legacy admissions decrease the quality of teaching and education found within these colleges. The framing for this extension is based directly on the mex that Joseph gave you in his speech. These legacy institutions are funded by rich alumni who are willing to donate a lot. If that's the case, what happens in the college or to the college at the point in which a significant portion of their funding is cut off? Three very, very important mechanisms. One, it becomes a higher student to teacher ratio. Note that this sounds like a positive at first, right? Wait, now there's more students in these colleges? Well, isn't that a great problem solved? No. The problem that comes with this is that these prestigious institutions a lot of them, or like a lot of the prestige that comes to it, is the opportunity for you to meet and become close to really influential mentors. This is in line with the network that you create and the amount of direct access you have to each individual person who's influential. When you increase the student to teacher ratio, a lot of this indirect benefit gets muddled. Your teachers are literally unable to spend more time with you as a student because now there is like more of you to cater to. This is just decidedly bad because half the reason you are even going to these like institutions is because of the network. More people dilute that network, especially if it's a prestigious college. Before second mechanism go,
government provides a lot of scholarships and subsidies to this college because it is prestigious and has high ranks. You're risking your very big part of your subsidies when you do such a thing.
it's a private university, right? So, it's not the main source of their funding. Like, yeah, maybe it's a public university, sure, but it's not the type of actor that we're talking about. Two, teacher, staff, and admin get massive amounts of pay cuts. Note how big of an impact this is. A lot of the teachers present in these institutions are only there because of the expansive set of benefits, e.g., salary. Absent legacy institutions, the most direct impact is that a lot of these great educators lose their livelihoods. Why is this comparatively worse? Because the extent of government's harm is in the hypothetical loss of a talented student. On our side, you are guaranteeing the loss of a talented educator. This is just even worse optics on the school now that the public knows your prestigious school is too poor to pay their staff. What is the impact of this? And I want to nuance this by saying a lot of the mechanisms that I just gave you can be easily misinterpreted by the next speaker by saying, oh, these are irrelevant to the first world problems. Guess what? You know the very big impact this leads to? This leads to the literal loss of their status or privilege as a prestigious university. Why is this important? This is important because of the same metric that PM said is of the most importance in this debate. If this debate is about optics, it's a lot more effective to dissuade students from not applying to Harvard at the point in which they lose what makes them so special. They lose a lot of the opportunities that you have for your network. It loses the chance of the education that you get as a consequence of this direct like taking out of legacy admission, leading to a lot of the budget cuts that we see in status quo. I think for all of those reasons, if you really need to keep legacy admissions, and we do live in an imperfect world, you just have to keep it. Proud to oppose.